With the invention of AI ever growing, ever changing, and ever being an amazing tool, I have decided to use it to generate creepypasta stories that I will share with all of you. If you're interested in creepypasta type stories, they will be here weekly. They will also be going to my new Reddit page, r/we need to discuss. Feel free to post submissions there if you would like me to read your submission. Please let me know. If not, feel free to leave it there, and it is your content. No one can use your content without your permission, and I definitely will not read your content without your permission. I will be posting the text-based version of my stories over on that channel for anyone who is interested in reading them. But as always, like, subscribe if you enjoy. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Also let me know. Thanks for joining. The Whispering Woods. I've always been a skeptic. Ghosts, ghouls, and things that go bump in the night? Nonsense. That's why when I agreed to house sit for my aunt in the middle of nowhere, I didn't think twice about it. A week of solitude in a quaint, old house sounded like a perfect retreat. The house was a Victorian-style relic, nestled at the edge of dense woods, about 20 miles from the nearest town. The first few days were blissful. I spent my time reading, hiking, and enjoying the serenity. On the fourth night, things started to change. It was around midnight when I heard it for the first time. A faint whisper. So soft, I thought I imagined it. It came from the woods, carried by the wind. I shrugged it off, attributing it to the natural sounds of the forest. The next night, the whispering got louder, persistent. It sounded like multiple voices speaking in unison, but the words were indecipherable. Curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed a flashlight and ventured into the woods. The air was thick, and the trees loomed like sentinels. The further I went, the louder the whispers became, yet they remained unintelligible. After what felt like hours, I found a clearing. In the center stood an old, dilapidated stone well. The whispers emanated from it, swirling around me like a ghostly chorus. I peered into the well, but the darkness was impenetrable. The whispers crescendoed, urging me to listen, to understand. Fear gnawed at my insides, and I ran back to the house, locking the door behind me. Sleep was elusive that night. Every time I closed my eyes, the whispers echoed in my mind. By morning, I was exhausted, but resolute. I needed to understand what was happening. I drove into town hoping to find some answers. The locals were wary when I mentioned the well. An old man at the diner finally spoke up. "The well's been there longer than the town itself," he said. "Legend has it, a coven of witches used it for their rituals. They were betrayed and thrown into the well, cursing the land as they fell with their dying breaths." I laughed it off as superstition, but the old man's warning stayed with me. "If you hear the whispers," he said, "don't listen. They're trying to escape. If you understand them, you'll be compelled to help." That night, I couldn't shake off the unease. The whispers returned, more insistent, almost pleading. I tried to ignore them, but they invaded my thoughts, each word clawing at my sanity. Desperation drove me to the well again. This time, I brought a rope. I tied the rope to a sturdy tree and lowered myself into the well. The descent was slow, the air growing colder with each passing moment. The whispers were deafening now, filling the narrow space with their haunting chorus. When my feet touched the ground, I found myself in a small, damp chamber. The walls were lined with ancient symbols, and the floor was littered with bones. At the center of the chamber, I saw it. A grotesque figure, bound by chains. Its eyes glowed with malevolent light, and its mouth moved, forming the words I now understood. "Free us," it whispered, the voice a mix of agony and malice. I backed away, the realization hitting me like a tidal wave. The whispers had wormed their way into my mind, compelling me to release the entity. But I couldn't. I wouldn't. With every ounce of strength, I climbed out of the well, the whispers turning into screams of rage. Back in the house, I barricaded the door and windows, hoping to keep the evil at bay. The whispers didn't stop. They grew louder, more desperate. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, the grotesque figure haunted my dreams. Days passed in a blur. I lost track of time. My only focus was on resisting the whispers. Food lost its taste. Water did little to quench my thirst. I was a shell of my former self, consumed by relentless voices. On the 7th day my aunt returned. She found me in a state of delirium, muttering incoherently about the well. She called for help, and I was taken to a hospital. They said I was dehydrated and malnourished and suffering from severe sleep deprivation. But they couldn't explain the whispers that still echoed in my mind. I left the house vowing never to return. My aunt sold it shortly after, moving to a bustling city far from the woods. But the whispers followed me. Even now, as I write this, they are there and lurking at the edge of my consciousness, just waiting for a moment of weakness. So if you ever find yourself at a quaint old house at the edge of the woods, beware the whispers, for they are the voices of the damned, seeking freedom at any cost. And once you hear them, they never let you go.